All right. Now, I guess this applies just to my generation. Your point, or would that apply to Joel's generation?
Huh? What do you think? Explain.
The question was, what?
Hey, you wasn't in the video, man.
All right, hold on.
Back it up like a foot.
All right.
No, that way, this way.
No.
That's it. Okay, that's not too bad.
I got it. Right?
That's all right. Sure.
Right?
Yeah, you did.
Okay, I'm good.
Come on.
All right, what does my generation need to know from your generation that we either don't get or not listening to? How are we a hindrance to the exchange of power from my generation to your generation? Now, Joel is actually between my generation and your generation, so I don't know how it's going to belong. You said what?
I talked about how older people, not all, but some, don't really talk about or not willing to talk about diversity and identity.
What does diversity and identity mean? Because you have to understand, in the 80s and 90s, diversity meant one thing.
I know, yes.
And you all have become the kings of language, and they and them mean one person.
Pronouns, okay, yes.
Plural.
Okay, so just for context, we're recording this June 9th. June 9th is Pride Month. So it is a time in which, the public is talking about, the importance of identity, and sexuality, and all types of sexuality, right? Yes.
Explain. What is it that my generation is not getting, missing?
I mean, I wouldn't say they're missing it. Maybe in the part they're not getting it. Maybe in the part they're not willing to accept it. But we talk about, what it means to, have a certain identity that isn't, simply binary. The importance of
binary. What do you mean?
Because for a long time it was suggested that, there are only like two types of sexuality, or at least suggested by the main culture. You are either straight or you were not.
You're straight or you're not.
Like you were, if you're a boy, you're interested in women. If you're a woman, you're interested in men. Or if you were happened to be a woman if you were a woman that was interested in women, that was it. That's what it seemed like. You were either gay or you were straight for a long time.
Okay.
But now we are at a time where we are, more broadly accepting of actually talking about, other types of sexuality, like demisexual, bisexual, pansexual.
By what sexual?
I said we're talking about all different types of sexuality.
And what was the first one you said?
What? I said demi.
Demi?
Yes.
What is demisexual?
Demisexual is the idea that you're not, it's about physical or romantic attraction and sexuality, and sexual attraction where you're not immediately romantically attracted to someone unless, a certain time has passed, or sexually attracted to someone unless certain time has passed. When we develop a relationship with a person, and then after a while, you start to be romantically attracted to them. That's the idea.
Wasn't that called courting?
What? No.
How is that different than courting? Like arranged marriages where they put y'all together and then after a while y'all learn.
I guess he's saying
okay, no, that's
you're
not really
sexually attracted to them until you get to know them.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Like I don't want to have sex with you until I get to know you.
Yes.
Which I think is
that's a real thing.
Safety, but
oh come on.
But no,
it's a real thing.
In the days of arranged marriages, isn't that kind of what had to happen? Like one, y'all had to court.
No.
You were under the supervision of the parents, and then it eased off to y'all because Dad said, yeah, it's your husband.
Matter of preference.
So how is that That it's
Well,
like
no,
they put names
demisexual
on
is it's a
stuff
matter
on
of preference, whereas courting is not. I mean, it's an arranged marriage. You don't really have much of a choice in it.
Well, no, because you can
But,
court. I courted mommy. Wasn't long, but I courted mommy.
Okay, well, that's not an arranged marriage.
No, I'm saying courting does not necessarily. It means we have to spend a particular amount of time together, getting to know each other before we decide how close we're going to be or not. So that was called courting. Now they're making it an identity.
Yes. Because
It's a step. How's that?
no, I don't think it's not just a step. It's because sexuality, as we all know, is a matter of preference. Okay, and
How do we all know? Isn't that presumptive
you know what? Okay,
of
that's
this new generation? That,
okay. Now you're trying to
did you notice that sweeping conversation that he just raped us of our individuality and cloaked us in this understanding of this young generation? Did you see how slick they are? You got to be on my side with this, Joe.
Okay, you know what? That's right. I did start off with a lot of people dealing with their generation. Oh no, okay, you're right. I'm sorry. But sexuality, as you all know, is a matter of preference. I did it again. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry.
Look at how oppressive you 20-year-olds are.
Okay, that's a slip. I'm sorry.
You all have no respect for our individuality.
I'm sorry.
And our
My bad.
understanding of the world. You gotta pull us along at your fast pace.
You're right. Okay.
Why can't you ease up?
See, one of the things about sexuality that it has been presumed for a long time is that it's a choice. That all time sexuality was choice that you had, and well, I'm not thinking about it now because being a gay person was considered like wrong, a disease by the WHO, so in that way it wasn't really a choice. But for people outside of that lane, it was like you were gay because you decided you wanted to be that, or you were bi because you decided you wanted to be bi. And for a long time, the idea was that if you were straight, it was like the normal thing to be. But if you were anything outside of that, you were just choosing to be like that. That was just like the idea.
Okay,
but,
I can get with you on that. I
Okay.
can get with now. I think we're in full agreement on that, though.
Yes.
I think.
Well,
and I think that because of the reverse.
Okay. What?
I am so heterosexual that I know I couldn't choose to do homosexual stuff.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So I know.
Sure.
So in my mind, it's logical that a strictly homosexual person wouldn't choose it because they're as wired homosexually as I am heterosexual.
Sure.
So that's why I think I've always had a distinct understanding of you're just the way you are. It's not necessarily a choice. Now,
Okay.
I do believe that it's a bell curve, like most things. You got 10% mad hetero. You got 10% on the other side, mad homo. But that 80 in the middle
Okay.
fluctuates.
Uh-huh.
I'll try to kind of think about it. I'll maybe on these days, maybe when I was in college, and you got these people on the ends. This is where that choice comes in.
Okay.
I could do it. I kind of like it. I could do it sometimes, but I prefer this. I think that's where the choice idea comes in, because if I'm more on this side of the bell curve, I'm leaning more toward the traditional understandings of sexuality.
Heterosexuality, yeah.
And if I'm more on this side, I'm more of the non-traditional, but I'm still somewhere in the traditional. So I think that's where 80% where that comes out of, which I think with that bell curve example makes sense as to why that thought process would exist. Now, that would also
Sure.
be most offensive
I mean,
to the homosexual 10%.
you know,
You understand what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no,
Because
I-
they're like, no, I'm not like the 80 in the middle. This is how I function.
mm-hmm.
But no one questions, which is what's probably not fair, the heterosexual 10% because they're considered normal. But technically, if we follow that bell curve, normal is the majority of the people in the middle.
I mean, like to think that, you know, normalcy doesn't really.
Huh?
I said I like to think that, you know, normalcy is just like a certain constructed standard, but you know,
No, I don't know. What do you mean?
And I mean, because heterosexuality was considered like the normal thing, and if of course we're using this example, like being like straight is like a very niche section of the entire population. Most people are, you know, in that bell curve and that fluctuating
I think
area. I agree with that. I believe that. But, you know, when we say normalcy is always applied to, like, you know, just complete straight heterosexuality. So I would say, like, it is, I guess I won't really use the term normal. I would use the bell curve that we're using, that we say is, what's the one I'm looking for? It's the standard, I'd say.
Okay.
But that's not about. There's a. It starts with a C. I'm sure there's a better word for it, but yeah, the bell curve for me is like the standard. Like most people fluctuate. Like most people are in that area. You know, they're not completely gay, but they're not at least they're somewhere in that area.
Okay.
So yeah, you definitely have that. I feel like a lot of people, older people, I'm sorry, are still under that mindset that no, there's a very particular normal, and that normal is heterosexuality, like straight.
What is the problem? Let me ask Dave. What's the problem with people my age having that position, or do you have a problem with people having that problem? Is that a generational thing, or is it just what?
Well, from my humble background in gender studies, it is a generational thing. I actually took a class on the psychology of women and sexuality, and also took human sexuality as well recently in my college years. But in all seriousness, one of the things that was found was an actual lack of education on the new terminologies, if you will, on sexualities and gender identity. Because this is new for everyone. There are even people within the LGBTQIA plus community that are still trying to get familiar with all the terminology. So I say, the way that I think about it, is a lot of the apprehension for people to try to understand, not that they don't want to try to understand, but the inability, I will say, for some people to understand, not for lack of trying, stems from, well, kind of going back to what you were saying, sir, and what you were saying, Uncle Donnie, normalcy. It's very simple to have a binary. It makes things simple. Black, white, blue, green. You don't have to worry about things kind of being mixed up in the middle. It makes it more confusing when you have more topics, more ideas to consider. So
let me just cut to the chase. What happened to old-fashioned crazy?
old-fashioned crazy. Well, I think what happened
First,
was
we don't have the term anymore. Anyway.
Well, I personally think what happened was people couldn't find a proper way to express themselves using the old standards. So if we have, you're either straight or not straight. Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah, but I'm not, kind of like going back to your bell curve in that area. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, what do you call someone that's farther back towards the homosexual part, but not fully homosexual? What do you call someone that's more towards the heterosexual part, but not fully heterosexual? What's someone in the middle? What's someone up here, you know? So people try to find terms to classify themselves.
And that's where we're going. Now we're talking about people trying to classify themselves, which is a subjective reality.
I,
My issue is when everybody's subjective reality, which is why these letters just keep going and every color has now been taken. Every cause used to have a color. Yellow was this, and pink was breast cancer, and every color. In every letter, because you just said some more letters I had never heard of. And now society has gotten to the point that intelligent people are being silenced, not to offend unintelligent people.
Okay, can we classify intelligent versus unintelligent?
Stupid people.
But I mean, are we talking academically, or are we actually?
No. Okay, here's the point why I'm saying stupid people. We have to have certain objective understandings for society to function.
okay.
Up is that way. We agree on that. Down is that way. This is hard. This is wet. We have some things that we agree on so we can communicate. But if this is wet to me, orange to him, a brick to her, a feather to you, when I hold this up, don't nobody know what we're talking about. So there has to be some objective realities. Now, there always has been room for subjective reality. I feel a man should be strong and lift weights and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. Well, I feel a man should be smart and in his garden. Everybody has their subjective reality.
Yeah, but
and we need to do a better job, which is what civil rights was really rooted in.
Yeah.
To respect everyone's subjective realities as they related to the objective civil liberties, how we participate together politically, right? Now, people are creating their subjective realities and offended if their subjective reality does not replace objective reality.
Okay,
If you feel I am a woman, now how you rock with that, that's on you. Okay? But biologically, you will never be a woman. Your DNA, your bone structure, your muscle structure, your DNA will not be changed. You are going to have either XY chromosomes or you're going to have XX chromosomes. That's a fact. That is no different than someone saying, I'm this Stein.
I don't know about that.
And if someone, no, because I can never be this Stein. Now, I may say, I think there is a valid difference in you saying, I want you to address me in the feminine. Because that would make me feel good. Okay. Socially, that is a logical request. But for you to say that my objective reality of 2,000 years of mammalian biology is now thrown out of the window because you feel that your DNA doesn't matter, that your bone structure doesn't matter, that the muscle fibers don't matter, and that I should, not out of kindness and respect, address you as such, but that I have to embody your reality of something that it's not.
What do you mean by embody?
Because I am because the big debate that I see a lot is, are trans women real women or trans men real men? Or if you have to qualify what it is, if you have to qualify, that denotes it's something different.
Mhm.
To me, I would wonder, and I don't deal with enough people in that community that can hold, you've seen me try to have this conversation, that can hold this conversation without it getting angry.
Right.
Just somebody who really wants to know, an educated person who's really trying to understand and ask, but is a generation out of this out of this form of logic. How is a woman how is it different that a biological man that identifies as a woman different from a white man performing in blackface and that not offend black people?
I think I see what you're saying. So let me also put this in here too. One thing that I will say is a major theme of our generation, and of course, Tracy, you can attest to this or not,
Okay.
is the the war against the patriarchy. I'm sure you both have heard
I'm
about
going to
that.
speak loud.
Oh, I'm sorry, the war on the patriarchy. Have you all heard about
Against masculinity?
the patriarchy?
Okay, I'm a little confused.
Okay, so yes, it is kind of masculinity, but the patriarchy is also the idea of utopian America, if that makes sense. So nuclear family, husband, wife, kids, white picket fence, that kind
Like
of
it's a certain social order dominated.
Yeah,
by-
exactly.
Yeah.
So this sort of complete transition from that is also a way of saying what your generation is makes sense of. Okay, biological male, you get it if you want to be called a female. If you're a male, okay, fine. But biologically speaking, you're a male. Very logical, very cut and dry.
Mhm.
That in our generation is considered patriarchal thinking, which to us, not necessarily I'm saying myself or Tracy's per se, but us, our generation is seeing it as a hindrance. You have to stay in this social sphere. So these different changes, these different identifications are a way, it's kind of like in a certain way, a social revolution. It's a way of saying, I'm not going to be hindered by the old way of thinking. I'm going to open up my mind to something new. And because I will say it's being supported by many young people our age who are not fully cognitively developed, it comes off as people being stupid. But the I will say the baseline for it is not necessarily just to be wallowing in stupidity, is to actually have a social commentary. It's that we've been like this for decades, for centuries. I don't want to be like this anymore. I want to remove myself from this rigmarole, everyday push, force me to do it like this, and I want to try something new that I feel more comfortable in.
There was a comedian that said that you all are Generation X.
No, not even close. Gen Z.
You're Gen Z, all right? Gen Z
Oh boy.
has it in their mind that you all are the most progressive generation ever.
Oh,
And you are. But every generation before you was the most progressive. The hippies,
Yeah, in their time and during their
free love, went against, the establishment, turned the peace sign up, the Mercedes sign upside down,
yeah,
Black
Yeah, so
Power.
they went on to be.
You know what I mean?
And see, they were criticized by the old generation, asking them,
and
what are you guys talking about?
Yes, and what I'm saying is, what always happens when the crap hits the fan, a world war, famine, economy, people begin to pull back to objective thinking. The hippies, they was free love and everything until the 70s hit.
Yep, and the
And
economy
then,
crashed and I know.
Vietnam made white people start being white people again and made black people start being black people again. But it was free love in the 60s. Everybody was coming together. And then when Jab got serious, and we had to pick who was going to die in the war, okay, those people, these are the people started going back to their privilege because their privilege was safe.
Okay.
And then politics began to attack those things. It's actually where the war on drugs started with Nixon. So every generation, when they used to dress up like Fonzie with the grease in their hair
In the 50s, yeah.
okay, that was the rebellious period
the
there
rebellious
because
period.
everybody had the Converses and the slacks and the buttoned-up shirt, and everybody got dressed for dinner. Oh, he's riding a motorcycle. This is not anything new.
Yeah, but when
This is not anything new, and this is not even technology. So is this education? An educated person in history would be like, no.
What are you saying?
Why
is
not?
What education?
Where people are saying, you're learning all of this LGBTQ stuff, and I'm learning, okay, to call this person they or them or it or whatever they come up with, and it's going to be gone just like free love,
I don't think so.
just like Black Power, just like the 60s with the Levi's jeans and white t-shirts.
So you would say that Black Power, free love, were not educational?
No.
So it was just
They were forms of expression.
it was just revolutionary
And we
expression.
can't- hold on.
So you're just so what you're go on, sorry, go on.
No, go ahead. What?
Okay, so you're saying that all those are only revolutionary expressions, like the hippie movement. the
I don't even
50s,
know if they were
Let's see.
revolutionary.
or
a
acts of, I'm sorry,
revolution-
acts of rebellion. My bad. Acts
Yes.
of rebellion.
They were more acts of rebellion than because a revolution continues. If it stopped, it ceased to be a revolution. It was a movement. That's what you notice. The civil rights movement, but we had a revolutionary war. What they did is still going today. They started America, and that continues to revolve today. That's a revolution.
Right.
Every generation has a push of personality and social identity.
See, I hesitate to agree with that just because I'm going to make another comparison to a movement that happened around the same time, like all movements during the civil rights movement, the disability rights movement, which also was stressed the understanding of identity.
Was that a revolution?
It wasn't a revolution, no, but it was a civil rights movement. It was a movement.
Learn the history of this university. You have the Disabilities Act, where curbs and sidewalks are made. You have handicap parking in every state that you go to.
Yeah, I know.
You have ADA entrances. You have ADA classroom access. That's a
I
revolution.
guess, yes, yeah. You're right.
They revolutionized society, and that continues to be. Not the same
And you
thing.
can't.
So just because it happened at the same time doesn't mean it's the same thing.
But also the LGBT rights movement was happening also in the 60s and 70s, and we had during that time had more people sort of understanding the idea of the spectrum of sexuality.
I think the LGBTQ, because I know some L's and I know some G's.
Yes.
I don't know too many B's and the T's and the rest of them, but the L's and the B's I'm deep on.
Okay.
And the L's and the B's are quite,
G's.
the L's and the G's
L's and the
Oh.
are quite critical of the LGBTQ movement. The LGBTQ movement seems to be more about politics
Okay. Sure.
than it is about
Education.
equality,
Um,
safety, inclusion, liberation. It's a little bit. It's when you begin to control or desire to control my thought process in my use of language. Control what somebody say, you control what they think. You control what they think, you control what they do. You control what they do, you control what they have. So I would say the LGBTQ movement is far different from the gay rights movement in the 60s.
Okay.
There have been gay people around since air. That's nothing new.
Yeah, I know.
That's nothing new.
Yeah.
Homosexuality is as natural as nature. It's you find homosexuality in the animal kingdom. That is natural. And it has been prevalent throughout history. There's never been a time in recorded history that there were not homosexual people.
Yeah, okay.
Saying I'm not anything, or to say that biology has no place in social understanding is a bit more than what is completely different than what the gay rights was about.
So who is saying that biology plays no part in this?
Pretty sure no one's saying that.
No one is saying
no
that?
one's saying that biology doesn't have to play a part. I mean,
when they're saying gender has nothing to do with biological sex, and biology has nothing to do with identification, that is exactly what is being said. And that is exactly what I'm saying makes no sense, because some things objectively we agree upon either are or not true. Up is that way. Down is that way. A man, a male, a biological male biped has these chromosomes.
Yes.
You can cut off or add on anything you want to. You can give me a set of boobs right now, give me a wig, give me some lipstick, cut off any extremity that I have. I'm still a dude. Now,
you have a male body.
Socially, how we choose to handle it or how I choose to appeal that socially, totally different argument. But when I say because I think something, you have to think it, and I am offended if you don't believe it, it would make me feel better if you address me as Darnella as opposed to Darnell. That's an appeal. But you are supposed to have embodied that I've been your uncle for 21 years. Now I'm auntie.
So let me ask you this then. And maybe I'm going to be walking into dangerous waters here, but...
No, we love doing that here. Don't worry.
Okay. Is that not applicable to the white experience? We black people wanted to be recognized as humans. We didn't want to be recognized as animals. You need to believe I'm not an animal. Because we're not.
But we're biologically human beings. You can't unprove us as humans.
They tried to biologically, though. You know, they used to take the skulls of pygmy apes and compare them to Africans.
Yep, that was the thing.
So they biologically tried to.
They tried to, but they didn't. It's not true.
Oh yeah,
you know
because
what I mean?
we
Like
stepped up and did.
Well, I can compare you to a bunch of things, but is it the same? No, it's not the same.
Well, yeah,
If science is creating an outcome through experiment in a controlled and uncontrolled environment, producing a reportable outcome, and if it's consistent, we consider that a law of science. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I'm sorry. Because I have a question for you.
If I have poor science, it doesn't matter what I try. That's as much as me putting forth the political fallacy of something that's not true. So, we weren't appealing to white people because we wanted white people to believe our reality.
No. Yeah. No.
There was a system imposed upon us that was torturous, that was violent, that was vile, that was dishonest, that was violent, that was unfair. And I can keep going, that we tried to appeal to their intellectual nature and moral nature to stop what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's not the same thing as I want you to believe that I'm something that in all objective reality, in physical, scientific biology that can be proven, I am not what this is.
So
that's apples and bowling balls.
So no, I agree. That makes sense. So let me ask you, what do you guys think about the hormone treatment? Have you guys heard about the hormone treatment?
Yes, I've heard about the hormone treatment.
Yeah, I know you have, but
Go ahead, explain to us.
Okay, so long story short, people will go through hormone treatment, in some cases even adolescents, while they're about to either at the beginning of or before the subset of puberty. Some people will even do it after they've hit puberty. And they'll go through changes. So, and honestly, here I'm just playing devil's advocate. I'm not gonna express which side I will side with more or less. But my question is, that does some sort of hormonal, aka biological metamorphosis, if you will, would that person still, or would you both classify that person still as male or female, even if the female is taking testosterone and the testosterone levels at some point are higher than the estrogen levels? Now, most likely that female will not grow testicles and a penis, but their voice will get deeper, they'll grow a beard. I actually have a close friend that is trans, and once born a female, transitioned to a male, and they got more beard than me right now. Not really, but my point is,
I was like, damn, I need to. Might give me some of that.
But no,
what's your thought on that?
Yeah.
I mean, I say you can have more feminine features, but that still doesn't make you. I mean, you have more masculine features, but that doesn't make you a man. Like, there's certain, like you said, they're not gonna grow nuts. So like, you're not gonna be able to impregnate a woman. You're not gonna be able to, you ain't gonna. I mean, I guess maybe you might get the athleticism of a man, but like, you won't be a man. And if you stop taking the hormones, if God forbid we get bombed and then you can't get to the hospital, guess what you're gonna go back to? You go shift back to whatever it is. So it's a temporary change. I don't really.
Yeah, there are men that have some beautiful feminine features. Naturally.
Yes.
And there are some broads that if you catch them at the wrong ankle. So I'm saying we don't have to do genetic whatever. At the end of the day, if we are looking, if anthropologists dig us up 2,000 years from now, what are they going to find?
Oh yeah, I'm assuming we're using the same.
Female. That's what they're going to find. Everything else is a subjective reality. And the core of this conversation is not whether you should have the right to. No. That's not the core of this conversation. The core of the conversation is subjective and objective reality and our ability to communicate. There's some things, when I say car, we all get a picture in our head. And even though it may be a different kind of car, it's got seats, it's got windshields, it's got side windows, it's got four wheels. We have an objective understanding because that's what allows communication
Right.
and understanding.
Okay.
If, to me, I feel this is a car, and because I think that, and he thinks this book is a car, and you think these glasses are a car, which one is a car? That's the larger point, where the people who seem to be so vocal in this, it's always personal. Well, I, and my, and me, and all of these other people.
I mean, you can't blame them, especially since many of them could not, were not allowed to express themselves in any other way.
We all reduce our expression to conform to some extent.
I believe that. And I'll also put this other caveat into the game, too. We also got to remember, for our generation, how we're, not necessarily us, but how were many of us raised by a phone.
Oh, that's a real generational.
With more awareness.
Well,
That's a real generational statement
had-
right there, because I didn't have a phone till I was in my 20s.
Well, but I mean, sorry.
Hey, go ahead.
By having a phone, we've had social media, all the place. We have more awareness of these different types of identities than what most people did back, even 20 years ago, even 30 years ago.
But I think also you have to.
And-
I'm sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
No, and the most. I mean, if you saw a trans person in the 80s or the 70s, chances are it was either because you happened to find a person, or maybe there was maybe Independent Studio that had them on TV. But for the most part, trans people were not exposed to media at all, and for the most part, most people were not willing to come out and expose themselves to that, especially since it was very taboo to do so.
It's funny how when people from y'all generation talk about what was happening in the 80s and 90s and y'all wasn't there.
But
I don't think there were always guys that dressed up like ladies.
Yeah, sure.
And there were always ladies that dressed like dudes.
Yeah.
They just didn't call it anything. It was just,
There's no
that's how she dressed.
She's a tomboy. Is what
Right. Or, a dude.
So they just dropped the tom and they said, she a boy.
Yeah, but was tomboy, was that...
So was that an
insult?
So that's what I'm saying. There weren't, like I said, it was elements of society that this generation has built personalities or identifications around that was always there. And now, granted, it was either ignored or not,
acknowledged.
people just didn't talk about it.
Or insulted. It was sometimes...
And that may have been... that was not something I witnessed a lot of, but that was more, whatever it was gay.
Yeah, because
so if it was a tomboy, she was gay. If it was a girly dude, he was gay.
Yeah, because to be gay, the understanding to me is that if you were gay, then you were feminine, and feminine, is completely under.
If you were a girl.
Well, no, I mean that's how a lot of people. It seems to me anyway. Tended to use that word, or to claim something was feminine and not masculine. Therefore,
the lesbian thing really kind of kicked up later.
Sure,
but everybody was, that person's gay.
Yeah.
Well, I think people were less nice. I don't even know what to say about they just call somebody gay just because they're feminine. That doesn't mean he's actually gay, and they'll call a dude, he can't be gay because he's he plays football or whatever. I'm like, dude's gay. He likes dudes. You know what I mean? So I think there was a lot of, when it comes to society, we just simplify everything, and it's okay, that's what I see. That person's gay, but it's not necessarily.
Yeah,
he could just be a feminine dude.
Yeah, and see, because that's and this is why I feel like the LGBT community is talking about masculinity and femininity, because many people think that it's again it's very binary. That masculinity is here, femininity is here. For a long time, masculinity it was like a chain. It's like masculinity here and femininity over here. If anyone considered femininity, it was less than, and masculinity was considered to be like the dominant form of being, and it was the standard.
This is probably very unfortunate, unpopular to say. It might get edited out.
Okay. No, go on, say it. If we get that out.
But I find it scary when people who have a very subjective, when people who present themselves to have trouble differentiating between subjective and objective reality, define my group and my generation.
Okay.
When I'm listening to young people, and like I said, the conversation generally stays civil to the extent to which that they have facts.
Sure. Okay.
Which is unfortunately, now you've seen it happen to me, which is generally not long, because it goes right from talking points to straight emotion. If you don't have a good grasp of this is my subjective reality and this is the public's objective reality, are you the most qualified to articulate what my generation does, thinks, understands, understood, and performed 20 to 40 years ago? I just like when Tracy was saying, well, in the 80s and 90s, you just didn't see this.
I said it was less often. I guess I said less often, but whatever.
You weren't there!
Okay.
You saw it way less often.
Okay. Fine. I meant,
but that's what I'm
media.
saying. But that's my point. And now I find you, I know that you are an educated, researched young man who's taking a lot of his understanding from some academic base. A lot of people that I talk to and who seem to be the most rabidly defensive of it.
But I think you're gonna find that in most situations, the people less educated, the more they're gonna be
speak of their emotions.
Just nasty, emotional. Yeah, the less educated, they're more emotional. They'll be whenever it comes.
I may be slow, but if I really don't know nothing about it, why am I incensed to anger quicker then? You know what I'm saying? If I have,
I agree with you, but I think that's a level of I don't want to say level of intelligence thing. I think usually you find people who are very emotional. I just don't feel like they really educate themselves on a lot of stuff. I feel like a lot of people are just reactionary. They hear something, they like it, they go with it. And if I don't like it, you know what I'm saying, or you disagree with me, it makes me mad. I feel like that's how a lot of people are.
I would also say, and I wonder what you all think about this too, is fear is another thing too. A lot of people, I say, dang near everybody, wants to belong to something. Whether it be, obviously, we belong to a family. Everyone belongs to a family, whether you're cool with them or not, you're still part of that family. But I would argue that people also have a social need to belong. Mm-hmm. So that may be
sports team, Democrats,
exactly,
politics.
So, when you come from a generation once again, I wasn't there, but a generation where a lot of your interactions were in person as opposed to digital, I feel you have a bit of a more, Trace, you can test this, a bit of a more grounded social understanding. Now, it may not be as broad, but you know how to hold a conversation with someone.
Okay.
You know how to have an across the table conversation. Now, you start texting somebody, using the emojis, using this, using that.
Yeah.
You may not know what the person looks like when you come in contact with them. So my point is, we will have a broader or a wider range of interaction belonging to people, though we may not see them. If we all have this one idea, I feel this way, this way, this way, because a lot of this stuff you'll see on TikTok, and I'm sure you're often into TikTok. You'll see a lot of people expressing, bug self and all these different things that are just, I admit, a little otherworldly, but, well, that might need to get edited out. But seriously, though, you hear all these different things, and people are so about it because, like you said, it's subjective, So, for example, I'm a musician, as you all know. My subjective reality of my music is it's not bad, but there's a lot to improve upon. I give you the CD, you listen to it. Okay, this is pretty cool. You can work on this. The objective thing. But you may think, okay, this is good. So my point is, if I am so caught up in, I'm a great rapper, I'm going to be extremely defensive when you say, hey, you're not bad, but you want to do this, 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 and this. Or explain to me why you did it this way. That's where I feel our defense comes from, because we're so selfish in this generation. Because I feel it stems from the social media use. So when you have social mediums like TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, okay, I don't know if you've all noticed this. When you pick up your phone, you turn on the camera, typically, which way does it aim? Does it aim this way or this way?
I'll see your face.
Out, right?
In.
It aims towards your face. So if you open up the Snapchat app.
Oh, I thought you meant the camera.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
the camera.
But
Yeah,
mine usually is out
Yeah.
first.
Because you program it.
Yeah,
like
the
that.
front camera, the
Oh,
back camera.
okay.
Well, I mean, depending on what my last picture was.
Yes. Every time you open Snapchat, though, it's always pointed at your face. Now, the regular camera, you're right. It kind of.
Oh, now you know what? Now see, that's the generational thing. Because the only thing that I would open up would be my camera, because I don't do selfies. I don't do.
But see, but yeah,
I don't know how to
When
use
most
TikTok.
people
I don't
use-
know how to use Instagram.
when most people use Snapchat, when most people use Instagram, they're taking a picture of themselves.
So when they
So they're taking a
open,
picture of
so
their
when
face.
you open those
Oh, yeah.
things, it's set to come to your
Yeah,
face.
always. It's always set to
And
your
that
face.
happened to me just a minute
my phone
ago.
And
Well, not a flip, but earlier it was on me.
well,
When
yeah,
I was trying to get something else.
Yeah,
I got-
yeah,
that's the point.
So my point, to my point, we are literally programmed by the mediums that we typically use. You never see anybody in our generation without a phone, especially young. You don't see nobody without a phone. I didn't get my first phone until I was 17. The amount of times that I would be in interacting with different people that always had a phone. They didn't even have to have a phone. They would have an iPod. And I have an iPod now, an iPod Touch. Only thing you can't do with this thing, well, you're going to take a lot of pictures with this.
Make calls.
But make phone calls
Yeah,
because
sorry.
you only can be connected to the internet. But other than that, when you connect to the internet, you practically got a phone. So a lot of 13-year-olds, 12-year-olds had these things, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds in our generation at such a young age. So my point is, when you get to these types of, argumentative or defensive people.
But this is completely old person, but this is what I need. If you got these people talking that much to so many more people, wouldn't they be better at it?
No, because
You're not technically talking to more people. You post a comment and then someone may or may not respond to it. A lot of times people are just reading comments. They're not even interacting with what they're just absorbing content, maybe liking and sharing it with a friend.
and that's what brings the credibility.
Yeah.
nowadays, unfortunately, is how many likes you get. So if I post a video about bug self, I am bug self, I identify as a bug, and I get 3 million likes on TikTok. Oh, well, Joe Blow or David, he just posted a video about bug self. He knows what he's talking about. That's where the credibility comes from nowadays. So, no, it's not based in academia. It's not based in logic, I'm going to be honest. Now my true colors on the show. But you have to, because I feel like there is a very, very major split between the attention seekers and those that actually have, you know, maybe body dysmorphia or these actual tendencies in with sexuality.
You brought up another thing. You brought up another thing. Mm-hmm. Michael Jackson, the man, clear case of body dysmorphia.
Yeah.
How is that different than the changing your body to look? He changed his body to look like something. I don't know where he was going.
Could he identify as a white person?
No, I saw it. No, I'm not playing. Mike wasn't like white. Mike was white. Like when he knelt, he had hands as big as 7 foot, and he was standing about.
He was 5'8".
10. I think at least he had
my height.
He looked like about 5'10". He wasn't that much shorter than me. He had a lot of hair. He was jet black, so I knew something was up. I didn't think it was weird, but I was like, Mike, you older than me. Come on now. You know, my natural had already started going back to here. I had the John Amos going. And from good time, John had the little island right here. But anyway, when he went high, because we walked, well, what would be equivalent to a quarter mile? Like this. From inside the baseball stadium all the way down to where he was sitting in the baseball stadium in Gary. Mm-hmm. Anyway, so he was white. Like he when you saw him, you said, okay, that's that when you lose the pigmentation in your skin. And in between, and you can see like in the cracks where it was still like your complexion and the cracks in his hands. Uh-huh. So I was like, oh, okay, all right, that Mike got that. But then the nose wasn't a Caucasian nose. It was like these big black glasses. Yes. But he was still Mike, so we didn't care. Right. But how is that different than I'm going to cut jive off and put jive on, or the BBL, or it's
first off, you said that the Michael Jackson change, his change was like a case of body dysmorphia.
Well, the chin, the nose, the tattooing, the stuff on his face, tattooing his that's not his skin turning white. His skin turning white, he could not help.
Oh yeah, I know.
But you putting a cleft in your chin and all of that, okay, and then you do it to the point that you've jacked up the construction in your face. How is going from male to female different? He saw something he would rather look like. I would rather look like a man, or I would rather look like a woman. Why ever I think that is why I think that.
Okay.
Because I'm sure Mike thought it, but the people with body dysmorphia, I mean, we've all seen people with BBLs that it don't look good. Mm-hmm. And you're like, why did you do that?
Why did you undo it?
Yeah. Why did you keep doing it?
You can undo it.
So I'm not seeing where the difference is, where we have body dysmorphia, but then we don't recognize it if the body dysmorphia is mixed with identity.
Yeah, there is no difference.
But a lot of people say it is, because I'm not doing this because I have body dysmorphia. I'm doing this because I am a female.
Well, that's just the thing. I was like, what are you doing?
No, go on.
No, I was going to say, this is one of the things, and not that I just had one class now, I know everything about, gender politics and stuff, but that's the one thing, one of the many things rather, that I actually studied in psychology of women. It was the psychology of women and gender studies, like I said. So, it is body dysmorphia. Even though, and I'm not trying to say, well, these people don't know what they're talking about, but in a way, it's like denial. Because if you feel the body that you are currently in does not properly express your gender identity or expression.
Now, if you were still student body president at some northern university and you said that, would not the doors of the university blow off?
They would.
That's my issue.
Because what the term body dysmorphia means for a lot of people.
Right. And what we're saying is, if indeed that is true, which there is at least a degree of reasonable logic as to why that would be true, why am I ruined or potentially ruined if I say something consistent with historic mental illness and mammalian biology combined? Because I know some people, they say the homosexuality was an illness. And okay, combined with mammalian biology, if we were to say that, even if it's not meant in any mean way, it's just a literal statement. There's not much difference between these two conditions looking at it. It would be a reasonable expectation that there would be some social, financial, and employment hardships coming your way in a society if you chose to say, I'm having trouble processing how these two things are different. I have a problem with that. Even if you are an educated person, you have to dumb down your educated perspective to not hurt a possible uneducated person's feelings. Is society moving in the right way when that's the norm?
I would also like to add that homosexuality and mental illness, or really anything non-heterosexual and mental illness, have been connected with each other for so long. Like, for a long time, people considered being homosexual like a sign of sodomy, and not only was that a sign of sodomy, it was also grounds for, going to jail basically, or being arrested, or being detained, going to a mental illness, or about mental hospital or something.
I see.
In 1975.
Yeah.
You remember what happened? No, not 1975. What homosexuality considered a mental disorder. Like the WHO.
But they changed it in 75, right?
No, they changed it later. What was it?
I thought they changed
17,
it. Okay. Oh, in the 80s.
1780,
I think it was 82 they changed.
Which is weird considering,
But now here's the thing. I kind of see, and like I said,
I think it was the 90s.
I see a very distinct difference in the gay rights movement in the LGBTQ movement. I think that was one is clearly a socio-political
revolution
ideology. No, it's not even a revolution.
No, I thought
it's an
I
ideology.
was talking about the gay rights movement.
The gay rights movement was a lot like the civil rights movement.
Well, yeah, all those movies are
These
based on the
people
civil
have
rights
been
movement.
around all the time. The differences in dangers that were attached to that community
Yeah.
were generally done so in a hyperbolic, if not insincere nature.
Yeah, it was.
Because it always went to one thing.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yep.
Oh, he's a homosexual man, so automatically that makes him a pedophile.
Yep. Pretty much.
That's why pedophile has a name.
Yeah.
And what one has nothing to do with the other. So I think that the gay rights movement
Was a evolution.
and the resistance to gay rights was as insincere as the civil rights. I don't think that there was anything that was founded that was a danger to society, or that people who fought
Absolutely.
against it really thought that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't think they sincerely thought it.
Sure.
I do think there is a danger posed by the LGBTQ.
That danger.
I do. I think it's a danger because
I-
when you begin to tell people that their thought process is the primary thought process of the world, depending on who you're talking to, that's pretty dangerous.
Yeah, you're going to explain this more to me.
Okay, well, that's what I'm saying. You got some people that are not that bright, and they feel if I feel I can do it, I should be able to do it because I just add another letter, and again, it is not about your right to believe. It's about subjective and objective realities in the breakdown of communication. Because at some point, what happened with the hippies, what happened with Black Power, what happened, the ideology meets the economic system. How is your ideology going to penetrate the people who control resources? That may not set you up for the best outcome.
And, in a society that doesn't really.
And if you find it appropriate that people don't know how to address you, and you find it appropriate that anger is the appropriate response,
I feel like that must not most people.
because I've met some folks that you seem really masculine, but you got boobs, a lot of them. So I said, excuse me, sister, could you? Oh man, how would I have known that was in your head? Because
I mean, I'm not.
but that's
I
what I'm
understand where you're
saying.
coming from,
Huh?
but I understand where you're coming from. I get it.
Like,
I get it. But I also understand why they would be so angry, especially since
Why?
we're in a society.
why? Why would you be that angry? Why would I not?
I'm not saying it's.
If I decided,
I'm not saying it's
or
entirely logical.
whatever,
I'm just-
I've come to, you know what? I'm a girl. And on my way out, somebody says, white beard, everything.
Oh,
And somebody said, excuse me, sir. Grr.
I understand. I understand what you mean. It's very emotional. I understand those responses. Maybe
How do
not really tough to
explain the
logic.
emotional response to me.
That what you just said. Like,
If I
it could be
know-
friendly, violent, and
Yes, but that would be stupid for me to do that. If I know I at least was one time to me, why are you acting like I'm supposed to be confused? Why are you acting like I'm
I
supposed
mean, there
to
are
be
many
confused?
reasons as to why they believe. they should be up and angry.
I know our
think
bodies
it
are
has
made
do
to
with
look out,
how they were.
but you know what you look like.
I think a lot of it has to do with how they grew up. I think a lot of it has to do with what they were taught, maybe.
You don't
and
know
all that pent up rage is
that you got on a 36 double D bra.
No, I mean
you don't know
how
that
they were accepted before when they were figuring things out.
Okay, even if everybody in your hood call you homie, you know you got on a double D 36 bra. Homie in the airport don't know.
But who knows how long it took them or for other people to accept them though.
Subjective.
Yeah.
And
That's why I can't go crazy when somebody says nigger.
But
I can address
but
it.
a lot of people will, yes.
I'm not gonna make that statement. I don't feel safe making that statement. But
I would.
I think
If
so.
someone call me a nigga in my face, a white person, I'm saying.
Especially if you're
I think a lot of times we say what we gonna do until it really happens.
That's true. That's fair.
A lot of times we, boy, I.
It depends on where we're at. If we are in a crowded concert and I can get away with it, you might get slid.
Well,
if I'm at work, I would be professional about it. I'm going to report it to HR. But it just depends on where we at. If we behind the building, ain't no cameras. Watch your mouth.
Yeah, that's
And you know what? It also determines what age you are too. So
Yeah,
like, I can't say this 100%. I can't say that 100% because at 21, it would be a lot quicker to get somebody in Fender work.
yeah.
If you did that to me.
Yeah.
53?
Especially if I know you probably saying it because you want me to hit you at that point
Right.
in time.
And
so,
yeah, my
I'm
mind-
probably
Yeah,
gonna
because we're at
give
a
you
point
what you
where
want.
we're at a point where we're all being taught not to use it. So
See, now you're opening up a whole...
okay, yeah, let's move on from that. Okay.
Open them up, baby. Let's open them up.
Well, I find it to be
Did you
explosive.
see how his generation just talks to everybody?
No, I'm saying.
Did you see him do it again?
I'm saying.
Did you see him do it again?
Yeah, keep doing it.
You know, we're at a point where we all are taught. You see how y'all are?
We are being taught. I'm not saying that we all accept it, but no.
Who's teaching us? Do you see how inclusive your language is to everybody going? Look, you automatically
Okay, so
have
maybe
gotten this information.
maybe taught's not the right word. Just people don't talk about it.
Well, I'm just saying how you saying we all. Anytime somebody says all, that is very presumptive.
I know. I'm sorry. Okay. Yeah.
And you all are a very controlling generation.
Oh, how dare you?
Let us move at our snail's pace. We're on our way to death. We're slowing down.
We all are.
We're all, more than likely, you got way more days in front of
We never know.
than you got behind you. I, on the other hand, I'm closer to the upper room.
Okay.
All right. So let
You
me
never know.
shuffle on to the upper room. Why you gotta speed me up to your pace?
Because
We all have been taught not to.
Because that's what we
What?
are. Our generation.
And but
Right,
you know
as
what?
quickly
Let's
as
actually
possible.
talk about that.
As
Let's
quickly as
actually
possible.
talk about that. White people do not say nigger out of respect to black people.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right about that. They don't. Yes.
I agree.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Why? Okay.
I
Well,
agree.
then,
They say it so they don't get in trouble
No, they wanna
with,
get-
with the boss. That's why.
and what
Or
color is
society.
the boss?
White.
White dude.
Yeah. I
Very
boss-
few people say that.
yeah.
Our country has not moved forward because white people have regulated other white people. I was around when
Yeah, I'm
that
not-
started.
Yeah. I'm not wasn't saying
That started with the O.J. Simpson case.
Yeah, in the 90s.
Mark Furman. They caught him saying nigger. And it was too many white people involved in the case. Well, they didn't want to keep saying, because they're saying he's a bad person for saying nigger. Well, I can't keep saying nigger through the trial, too.
Yeah. It's all,
It was a televised trial. Everybody watched it. They canceled the soap operas to show O.J. Simpson. And this was a trial that lasted months. They stopped regularly programmed television. General Hospital, All My Children, gone. OJ was on TV. So now, white people had to make a hard and fast rule on the word nigga.
I mean, I would say slurs in general for all types of people. We don't say it not necessarily out of respect, but just because, you know, we want to maintain a certain reputation.
Do you know?
Like,
most black people I know don't know a lot of racial slurs for other groups.
Well, yeah.
Think about how often you hear.
Man, I was using words I didn't know there were slurs before. I didn't.
Yes.
You know.
Yes. Yes.
We used to call each other faggots or whatever. I didn't know that was a gay slur until I was like in high school or something like that.
I mean,
lot of,
I was like, oh, that's what I didn't know.
In
that.
some part of the country it isn't. It's technically in Australia, it's not.
yes. So it's a lot of words.
I mean, it's
When I played football, I used to have a coach that used to say, "Oh, that little band of Indians over there, we should beat them." And when he would say they're a band of Indians, they were disorganized, uniforms didn't match, blah, 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 blah. And that was a regular part of my vernacular, never thinking I would be on the Shoshone-Paiute reservation in a sports context.
yeah.
And sure enough was like, that band of
Right.
never had even thought about it.
And that will bring me to my next point. Consideration. Consideration. So going back to, excuse me, sir, or excuse me, ma'am, one thing that I've heard, and this isn't for all people, one thing I've heard that means a lot to many people that have these different identifications.
Pronouns, yes.
Exactly. What?
Is it pronouns? Okay.
It's consideration. So, for example, now, once again, it's not foolproof. But as opposed to assuming someone identifies as a male or a female, just say, like, for example, as opposed to excuse me, sir, say, excuse me, can you help me find the bathroom?
That is saying, again, subjective and objective. For the minority group that this might apply to, I'm supposed to see it, recognize it, adjust to it for everybody over something that may or may not be real.
So what's the issue with that?
Yeah,
what's the issue with saying, excuse me, as opposed to excuse me, ma'am?
See, that's the other thing I want to bring up too.
You didn't grow up saying yes ma'am, no ma'am. You didn't grow up by that being ingrained in the fabric of polite society as a sign of respect and endearment. So y'all call grown folk by their first name. I remember I was dating somebody one time and brought her from Massachusetts to meet she came to visit me. And I introduced her to my parents. She told me, what's your mama's first name? What's your mama's name? Mrs. Bolton is what her name is. She called my mom. If she would have called my mom by her first name, I would have got hit. No.
Sure.
But
I think a lot of older people have introduced themselves as their first name. I think a lot of people prefer that.
This was the rule back in the day. And I don't understand how y'all get down now. Because I go to my doctor's office. Young lady, let me tell you how unpleasant it is to hear my first name coming from somebody who is not a colleague.
I find it interesting because you know how I always tend to call people like Mr., Mrs., or Ms. person. Yes. And they'll always tell me...
Because you had somebody put some time
No, hold on. But and they'll always tell me, like, no, you know my first name.
Okay.
And I say, I'm
And
sure about that. And
but
crazy
if
enough,
they
you
do
know
that, what do we do? What's the default if they say, call me by my first
Mr.
name?
Darnell.
You put some respect on the as
Yeah, also, bro, there are a lot of people.
respect on my
No,
name.
but there are a lot of people that don't.
But
They don't like being.
I know
called
a
Mr.
90-year-old lady. She told me when I met her name was Nadine. Now she would, and I said, okay, well, Miss Nadine, blah blah. Blah. Call me Nadine. Now, I don't want to be disrespectful to your wish. Now, I have shown you I was real. Okay?
Sure.
And only under your protest will I call you by your first name. What?
But in front of my parents, you still Miss Nadine.
And in front of them, hey, you gotta do it. But I'm telling you, I had.
So what age did that kick in? Because
I'm
in my 30s, and if a 15-year-old called me Mr. Awesome, and we ain't at school, I'm gonna feel kind of weird about it.
I'm gonna tell you, at your age, it's gonna start happening now. Cause you're in your mid-30s, you still thinking yourself as 29-year-old Joe. That's what you think of. You gonna walk down the street one day and it's gonna be a little 12-year-old boy on the street cussing, and you gonna look up and go, "Oh, excuse me, sir." And you gonna be like,
no, I get sir, I get that plenty of times. But at what point in time am I gonna be like, man, you can't? I need to hear Mister before you call my name.
I'm going to tell you.
I think it's
when I hit. You know what my barometer was?
You got your first big job?
Him.
Okay.
If they was my kids' age, we're not friends. That was my barometer.
Okay.
Darn it. I have had kids at the university, undergrad. I can see if it was grad school. They look at my bio, and at the time it said Mr. Darnell Bolton. I didn't have my PhD in. Darnell, blah, 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 blah. What? Stop! I may not even answer the question.
They don't answer the question, man.
Mrs. Williams. This, that, and the other. Respectfully.
Oh, we'll know how to fix this.
Mr. Bolton.
You know how to fix it then. We just call you doctor. There we go. That's it.
Once you get the doctor deal in the university setting, it's rude for you not to address me as doctor.
Well, that's neutral. We don't have to call you.
Now, and I thought once I got my doctorate, I would call my professors Jim, Chris, Tom, Betty.
Oh, really?
No.
No, I never thought that at all.
I still call them
Yeah.
Dr. Dustin. So
Yeah, I would never.
well, no, because
I feel like most doctors do that. They talk about the
no, you
At least to me, maybe it's
Maybe.
you become they do that in front of folk. But as we're talking, like if I'm sending you an email, like I could actually say, "Hey Mike, blah blah blah," and he'd be all good.
Was that
well,
always
see, and I'm a little different because I was older than most of my teachers.
Yeah, was that always the case?
He's calling me sir. Right? So it's a little different.
I wonder if that was always the case, or
Huh?
I said I wonder if that was always the case. You have a
I've always
doctor
heard it.
talking
I've always heard
by their actual
the
their names and not the doctor.
professors talking to each other by first name. But if they were referring to somebody, to a student, they would say Dr. Zussman, Dr. Williams, Dr. whatever. But they were first name basis.
Uh-huh.
And I guess I'm not there yet because I'm just like,
You've been doing this for
you're
too
still
long.
Dr. Todd. You're Dr. Todd. And they ain't said stop calling me that. But now all of them have said, you can call me Mike. When they met me.
Yeah.
But I thought when you're an elder, you have responsibility.
And they have responsibility.
You set the tone for certain stuff. And if I elevate the instructor, people are going to follow suit as well, if I de-escalate the instructor, they're going to follow suit. There were certain things just by being an elder. Like I was in the classroom and the students, because most of the people getting PhDs is his age, not old as dirt.
Wait, that's not true.
Okay.
No, that's not true. A lot of people getting PhDs are older.
Who got the most experience in PhD programs in this room right now?
I mean, I know, but
I'm telling you, most of my classmates were closer to your age than mine. They were in their 20s.
I was looking at the average age on the list, but you know.
I'm talking about at the school you attend and the school you're going to be attending. They're generally about his age, right? Now, don't get me wrong. You're going to get a couple of geezers that slide in there.
I guess
but
it depends on the degree.
it's going to be y'all that's
I think it depends on the degree.
young minds. Think about it.
On the degree that.
Dr. Angela Davis got hers when she was young. Dr. Huey P. Newton got his when he was young. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. got his when he was young. You know, people get them when they're young.
My cousin got his when he was young. He was like, my cousin, on my mom's side, my cousin Jerome.
Yeah.
He got his
way younger than me.
Okay.
He was like 24, 25, I think, when he got his PhD.
Mm-hmm. Slap me, fuck.
No, please. I forgot
Anyway.
you can go straight to your PhD. You know. Anyway, go on.
You didn't interrupt me enough. I forgot the point I was trying to make. Thank you.
Oh, we were talking about pronouns. I think we were talking about.
We wasn't talking about pronouns. We had let pronouns go a long time ago.
No, because we went from pronouns to surnames. That's what we were doing.
I don't know what you're talking about, see.
No, we were talking about pronouns, and you mentioned, you know, you were grown to sort of address people.
No, that wasn't what we was talking about, because I just remember what we was talking about. We were talking about, dang, I just forgot.
Okay, well, now we're talking about pronouns, because he brought that up.
Well, what do you have to say about pronouns? You keep talking about pronouns, because that's not what we
No,
was talking about.
what do
We
you
were
say?
actually talking about being an elder in the class and setting the tone of how the class is, because what I was about to say
No,
was,
I'm just saying how.
you had these students that were in this program, and they were talking about how much they hated undergraduate students. And that undergraduate students don't listen, and they don't do the work, and they don't do this, and this, and this. And I was talking about how when you're an elder, addressing the professor, but you also set the tone of the class. Because these 25 to 27, 28-year-olds were just talking about how they hated the students. And I had... Now, at this particular school,
I'm not gonna
if you
lie,
had the privilege of being a teaching assistant, your doctorate was free.
Uh-huh.
And the people who is making the doctorate free, they're talking about they hate them because it's too much work. And I'm like, y'all parents got to still be paying y'all bills. Because me, I'll take them 8 to 80, dumb, crippler, crazy. I'm going to appreciate them because, but for you, I would be paying over $100,000 for this education, and I'm getting it for nothing. And I'm talking about how I can't stand you because you're lazy. If you weren't lazy and you did everything that you were supposed to do, they wouldn't need to hire me.
Yeah.
So in that way, I had to impose my leadership even where the professor was kind of stunned. I was like, oh, that's absolutely inappropriate and unappreciative for your situation. So,
I'm not gonna lie with this. I remember me and the professor having those conversations about students.
it's one
undergrad
thing
students.
for you and your professor to be talking about your class.
Sure.
They were talking about how they hate undergraduates.
Just in general.
Yes, like
Oh,
they were complaining about the opportunity
Okay. Yeah.
that gave them a level of education that put them in the 3 percentile of the population.
To me, that's putting yourself in a bubble. Like you're not really. This is engaging with the people that got you where you were. They're helping you.
I did.
That's just neglectful. I'm not gonna lie. I don't care for that. Those type of people. That makes so But anyway, no, I don't know how we transition from pronouns to elder surnames, but anyway, that's what
anything to say about pronouns.
that's what we're talking about.
I ain't got nothing.
I remember you brought the question.
I didn't know what a pronoun was till this became a thing.
I would tell you one of the most offensive things that happened.
Oh, I'm gonna tell the story again. Love it.
About when they passed out the name tags here.
Yes, go on.
They passed out the name tags.
I saw the name tags. Yes.
The name tags, right?
Yeah.
And they made these little ribbons to identify your gender. He, him, his, she, her,
Hers.
they, them,
Theirs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this was to show sensitivity to people's personal identity. Because this university is sensitive to that.
It's a safe zone university, I'm
Safe zone. They automatically put the he, him, his ribbon on my desk.
Yeah, that I just when you make it's when the fact it's not even that the fact that they made the name tag, it's that they made the name tags and then still assumed your pronouns.
Right.
It's just like come
the
on.
whole thing was about not assuming.
It's not us, so we know.
Yeah, you think
we ain't have to
come
think
on.
about like. We worked with you for over 5 years, and we don't know what your pronouns are.
I know, but did they even ask?
No!
Did they even ask?
It was on my desk. And so I had to get everybody to bed. I'm like, oh, stop.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Stop.
I'm
just saying, a lot of times we get all sensitive, but we do the same thing.
You're right, yeah.
Society does. So whoever cooked that up went and bought the ribbons, printed them up. It was that important. And it's a lot of people that work in this building. They went, this is a 160,000 square foot library. Do you know how much walking and manpower they had to put just to pass them out? So that was like, somebody like felt it deep that this needed to be done.
And yet,
And assigned genders to everybody.
it's still assigned genders.
I was like, y'all could have let me pass it out. Let's get a good argument going.
Wait,
Man,
that's it?
you would have gave everybody the wrong
I
thing.
on purpose.
Just to
I'd have been making up. This says box. What? What?
Oh my god.
Oh yeah. I please. But that's I think the LGBTQ movement will be gone, just like the Black Power movement, just like the hippie free love movement.
I don't think it's gonna be gone just because the major corporate businesses are like attaching themselves to it.
Everybody, dude, you could get
major corporate businesses.
Soft sheen, them black pics with the fist. Folks was selling dashikis, blowout kits.
True. Okay, that's fine.
Corporate America gets behind every wave. Hip hop ain't what hip hop was no more.
Yeah, not.
Hip hop got bought and sold in the 90s.
Anyway.
So hip hop was a movement.
Yeah, it was. It was.
Yeah. So, and I actually lived the entire life of hip hop. That now, that's corporate. It's not.
I don't know. We'll wait and see. I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, but we'll see.
It's not going to come back to the original purpose that it had until
the
it
gay
got.
rights movement?
Huh?
Like the gay rights movement?
No, I'm talking about hip hop.
Oh.
It's not going to go. No, the gay rights movement, again, I said it wasn't a movement. I said gay rights
I meant the revolution.
was a revolution.
Okay, sorry.
Hip hop was a
Both.
movement.
Was both.
And then it got bought. And I think that the gay rights movement, the LGBTQ movement is a movement that was put in place to detract from other movements that whites did not want to invest in. I think particularly it was to divest from the black movement, where you can say, oh, these are minorities and it's mostly white people, so I can put resources, because racism, separation, all that stuff is about economics. It's about economics. That's what is in Martin Luther King Jr.'s last book, Where Do We Go From Here? Said this is a division of wealth. Yeah. And the distraction is gender politics. The distraction is the color of somebody's skin. The distraction is who you choose to be romantic with. It's getting people fighting over stuff. Lyndon B. Johnson said it. He said, give a white man somebody to look down on. He won't notice when you're picking his pocket. In fact, if you give him somebody to look down on, he will empty his pockets for you. That's white folk. Talking about white folk. I think it was James Baldwin who said that the biggest slaveocracy in the United States have always been poor whites. And he said, and the sad part is, they've never known it. That goes back to Bacon's Rebellion. But I think we got to close.
All I'll say is that doesn't mean we still can't talk about it. But anyway, I said all I'll say is that doesn't mean we still can't talk about the importance of sexuality in the spectrum.
I think we have to talk about it in an educated way, though.
Yes, I agree. Sure.
So we can't talk about it, like it's, I got 4 facts, and once we hit 4 facts, I start talking about your mama. And that was something I wish I would ask about, because I don't know how 4 dudes from two different generations got to 3 different generations got together, and all we talked about is gender politics. I never would have guessed that would have happened.
I did it. All right.
But yeah, I really would have wished that we had talked about something I learned about social media, which you all may say, yeah, remember, I don't know.
I mean,
I know people look at social media for friends. I did not know that they look at social media for enemies.
Oh no! Oh yeah, absolutely. It's
what do you mean, like groups that they don't like?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's people that will follow somebody's page just to be mean to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hate. What's the word for? Like, because at the end of the day, it's about like grabbing someone's attention, and if it means like hating someone.
Okay, but I would say, okay, yeah, this
comments.
person is famous. You on Will Smith's page. You're trying to. It's people that will find a nobody.
Yeah.
And I actually have to tell people, this is not what my page is for. If you are thinking I'm going to snap at some point and talk about your parents, I'm not. I'm not going to delete your statement. I'm not going to, I'm going to address what you're trying to say, and I'm going to try to get you to articulate yourself. Because obviously you have something you want to say. But I just did not realize. I know they're nasty people in the world.
Right.
But I really thought people use social media to connect with other people. But it's people that and it may be that people just don't know how to communicate. Because I look at it as
that I studied all of this, but go ahead.
What?
Well, I was gonna say yes. That's the thing. So, the decrease. Obviously, there's a huge discussion on digital communication and the differences between that and in-person communication.
Yeah.
I actually just got out of a class that we talked about that com ethics. I actually might reference you all the book Tompkins. Anyway, in that book we were discussing, or there's a discussion about how digital communication is can be used as a shroud. I'm sure you all are familiar with the Plato, but Socrates.
Yeah.
Talking about the ring. I can never remember where, the ring of Gyges, I think, something like that. Long story short, this ring, when worn by a person, could do anything that they wanted to do. The gods couldn't even see them. So they could live the craziest life that they wanted to live, or the best life that they wanted to live. And that was the philosophical question: do you live the good life with or without the ring, or do you live the bad life with or without the ring? Or do you live a good life without the ring and then a bad life with the ring? So the point is, digital media is like the ring of, I think it's the ring of Gyges. It's like that. It'll be the ring of Gyges for this discussion. It's like that in that you have an online persona. Nobody actually knows it. You. Yes, okay, I know you're my Uncle Donnie. I see you on Facebook, you post your pictures, you see the family, okay, it's Uncle Donnie. But if I'm coming across as, Nose Picker 2000, and I just have a picture of a finger, you don't know who I am. Mm-hmm. So I can say any mean thing that I want about your family, about your clothes, about your shoes, about whatever. I can get away with it. I may be your nephew. I may be your best friend.
That's called abusing the power of anonymity.
But that's the thing. But that's the thing, and that once again goes back to our generation. Control, you mentioned before.
I think
we have.
I think some people, because what I've actually learned to use that opportunity for is to see again the enemies. I'll sit there, and now at first it used to be really hard because I'm quick with a comeback, and now it's like, okay, obviously, of everything on social media, you chose to engage this video, and not only just look at it, you could have hit a thumbs down. You chose to type something, so you have something to say, articulate. And I'll keep trying to get them to, it's to the point that I'm less involved with really what you're trying to say than just to get you to have a civil discourse.
Yeah.
Just because you disagree, you don't have to be disagreeable.
Right.
Just say, I disagree. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I disagree because of this, and this.
Because I believe disagreement leads to growth.
What?
Disagreement can lead to growth and better understanding.
Yeah, but disagreement can also lead to violence.
No, but that's my point.
Yeah, because as soon as you the stupidest SOB that I ever, and
that's
then
my point.
Now where's the growth gonna come out of that? So
I should have. I'm sorry. I agree with that. I should have clarified what I mean by disagreement can lead to growth is when it is conducted civilly. Mm-hmm. Obviously, if it's not conducted civilly, you're not going to grow.
And you're willing to listen to the other person.
If both people are not engaged in a civil way, but if somebody does, and you got one person that is just saying, "Okay, let's see what this is," because actually my page is still small enough that I can answer all of the responses.
Just wait.